Welcome to The Grand Review, a podcast where we review movies and keep you up to date on the news, and sometimes we get it through a full sentence without stuttering. I'm your host, the man panicking on a rooftop, Garrett Ray. Joining me is the one and only, the cool cat himself, Andy Delia.
Hi, Garrett.
Hi,
Thank
Andy.
you.
So this week, we are talking about A Quiet Place, Day 1.
Yes.
And if you haven't joined us on the show before, first off, thanks for being here.
Yeah.
Second, basically how this works is we're going to do a spoiler-free review right up front so you can know if this is a movie that's worth your time. And then we'll jump into spoilers. And we'll put a time code for that as well in the description of this episode. And then if you want to learn a little bit more about what's going on in the movie industry, we're going to get into news right after the spoiler reviews. So that's how it works.
Yep.
And then somewhere along the way, there will be an undetermined number of rabbit trails we'll go down.
Right. That normally happens. Yeah.
But it happens because we love movies, not because we can't stay on topic.
No, well,
a little column A, little column B, you know.
I was going to say, do you really want to make that statement?
I would love to lie to our audience up front. So
yeah,
no, not really. Okay, well, let's just get right into it. So if you haven't seen the movie, basically the premise is that this is day 1 of the alien invasion from the Quiet Place series. If you haven't seen the first two, essentially the Earth is overrun with these aliens that are blind, but they hear really, really well, and any little noise will attract them. And so if you sneeze or burp or fart, you're dead. And that's basically the premise. And this one is set
Which means
in New York
if
City.
Garrett and I were both in that world, we both would have been the first ones killed.
Oh my gosh. The first time that they were like, you know, we're running low on food. All we got left is beans. I'd be like, well, that's it for me. I'm just going to go outside and scream so you guys will be all right. But yeah, this movie takes place in New York City, which is a little different from the last two. So this is a very different setting and a very different kind of angle on this world that they built. And it's an interesting one.
Yeah, it's still everybody's trying to get adjusted to what is going on around them and how to deal with it, and they don't know everything. And the military just doesn't help with things at all.
Not really.
No, I kept going. Every time there was like the helicopters passing by and they're saying, shelter in place, like go to, and I'm like, oh, death sentence. I'm like, okay, here they come.
I mean, at the very least, the helicopters would have drawn the things away from people on the ground while they chased that for a little bit. So at least there's that. Yeah, interesting. Okay, well, let's talk about our spoiler-free review here. Yep. So, Andy, as is tradition, your thoughts first, sir.
I liked it. I like the other two. Even though I've heard from people that a lot of people didn't like the second one, I'm not one of them. Actually, I like the second one.
I like the second one a lot.
Yeah, so did I. And I like the Cillian Murphy in it. I like the storyline to it.
Yeah.
I like the fact that they figured out how to kill these things and that through non-orthodox means, it seems like.
Yeah.
And dealing with the situation that they're in and the whole community that they end up getting killed.
Yeah. Spoilers for part 2, I guess.
Well,
it's fine. It's 2018 or something.
Yeah, it's. But I'm looking forward to the third one. When they originally came out with this one, I was kind of skeptical about it because prequels, especially with an established franchise already, they're very hit or miss. Either they're really good or they're really bad.
Yeah.
And this was the case that I was pleasantly surprised at how good it was. And I think a lot of to attribute to the fact that Lupita Nyong'o's performance in this is just amazing.
Yeah.
She's really good. And I've liked her in everything I've seen her in. So this is not anything different from that.
Yeah.
But I just think with the situation that she's in and her love for pizza throughout the entire film, which I thought was awesome. The thing I did not find awesome was the cat. I wanted that thing roasted within the first 5 minutes.
My wife might come roast you because that was her favorite part. There's nothing in this movie my wife cared about more than the cat.
Yeah, my wife and daughter too. And I was like, oh no, that thing would have been lunch.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, we could have, and it doesn't happen in the movie, but we could have been watching the most horrifying, gory, awful scene of one of these animals just picking apart a human piece by piece. You could have been seeing that, and my wife was totally cool. But if they had switched to a shot of the cat, she would have gone, they're going to get him next because she loves animals so much.
Well, and everybody.
I'm not making fun of her either. I'm just saying that's how she is.
Everybody should love the fact that the cat's character's name was Frodo.
Yeah, and Lupita Nyong'o's character is named Sam.
Yeah. So I wonder if that was done intentionally or not.
For sure.
And the cat's real name, I know one was Schnitzel, which was even, I was like, so really that thing should have been eaten
food.
at the beginning of the film. I forget what the second cat's name was, though.
I didn't look that up. I actually wrote down in my notes, Samira, or Sam, is played by Lupita Nyong'o.
Yes.
Eric is played by Joseph Quinn, who was Eddie in season 4 of Stranger Things, and I didn't know that till after the end. And I was like,
he's
oh,
Eddie Munson? Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I think I screwed up the name of that, but I don't think I've watched
Eddie
the
Munson,
whole thing.
something like that.
Everybody says the Metallica thing in that season, so.
Yeah. Ruben was played by Alex Wolff, who was the
nurse.
The nurse, yeah. And that guy was, I think he was in Death Note, which was bad. And then he was in, don't worry about it. Just watch the anime. The anime is actually good. It's one of the few animes I've watched and not been like, this is weeb crap.
I've only watched like one anime series from beginning to end solely because I liked the movie, and that was Jujutsu Kaisen.
I haven't seen that.
That one was actually pretty, like, the movie was interesting enough for me to go to the series because the movie was actually the prequel to the series.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So seeing that first and then going and watching that series, that was actually pretty cool. And I think that one has a decent story.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not just weed fodder.
Anyway, I wrote down Frodo was played by Cat. So I didn't look to find the cat's names.
Yeah, it's Schnitzel, and I wish Schnitzel's the one that sticks out.
I mean, that's definitely a funny name for a cat. Our cat's name is Turtle. So.
Which you probably should change it to Wolverine for as much as I hear that thing scratches you.
She is
vicious.
so mean. She's so mean. I don't understand why she's so mean. All I do is play with her, throw her spring. She plays fetch. She wants to play fetch with her spring all the time. And we do that, and we give her food, and we give her a place to live, and we went and chased her down when she got out after the big storm rolled through, and we've done nothing but take care of her. Mm-hmm. And then when she tries to get into stuff that I don't want her to, all I do is pick her up and whack her on the head a few times and throw her across the room. I don't see what her problem is. I don't get it. I don't get why she hates me.
Now I understand why.
Yeah, no, she started it.
So
Nico is the other cat's name, by the way. I looked
Nico?
it up. Nico and Schnitzel.
Okay. So getting back on topic for this.
Oh, right. That's what this podcast is about.
Everybody's saying that this is the best of the series. I don't agree with that. I think they're about the same as the other two. And not to say that I don't like it, like I do, but to say that it's really stand out in the series, I don't know if I'd agree with that.
Okay. I guess this is a good place for me to jump in then, because I disagree that it's the best of the series with whoever said that. I think it is slightly, ever so slightly below the other two. For me personally, I think it is because I am a sucker for stories about parents who love their kids. So those first two connect with me on an emotional level.
Okay.
Because we saw this
Thursday. We saw this Thursday.
Right before that, Hannah had never seen the first one, so we watched the first one. Mm-hmm. And every time we get to the part where, spoilers for Quiet Place Part 1, but the part where the dad sacrifices himself.
Oh, yeah.
I break into tears every time. It is such an emotional moment, and it builds to that throughout the whole thing. It's all about, this family trying to love each other in what is the worst situation possible.
Right.
And I think this one as well has a very personal human story. It does. I'm just more of a sucker for what the first two movies were doing
with family rather than just individuals.
Yeah. And that's I'm not knocking the movie for that. But I also think that there is a look and feel to the first two that's a little more independent film kind of feeling.
This one has to be a little bit more urban and a little bit more dramatic looking, I guess.
Yes.
I don't know if that's the right word, but all the cityscapes with the aliens like ripping them apart and how everything is destroyed, and even the one scene where it's generally ruins of a building that was under construction.
Yeah.
It has to have that industrial feel to it, where the other ones were all set in a very country setting and very different from what this is.
Yes, I think the main that contributes a lot to the color palette, because this is a very much more muted color palette than the other ones. The other ones were very warm colors and stuff.
Right.
And again, I'm not knocking that at all. I think that's exactly what makes sense. But I don't know. At the end of the movie, I was just like, that was really good. I like that, and I would recommend people see this. I probably will want to watch the other two more and go back to those more often than I do this one, but I'm still going to come back to this one too.
Right, and that's where my wife and daughter both said that this was their favorite one out of the three, and I was like, no, I'm like, I don't think it wasn't my favorite, but I didn't dislike it either. At least it was better than some of the prequel stories that they come out with for these things.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So
I mean, okay, so let me put it this way: as part of this series, I don't think it's the pinnacle of this series, but it is solid in the same ways that the other two are. As a movie on its own, apropos of nothing else, it's really good.
Yeah, it is.
It's really good. I liked that as an origin story. This is not a origin expository. This is what happened and where the aliens came from and all that stuff. So if you're expecting that, that's not what this is.
There doesn't have to be that much explanation to it.
No.
It just, it obviously there was a day one to this from the get-go, because the aliens just didn't show up from the other movies. So there has to be some semblance of normality first before it goes into complete chaos.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this is what that shows, is that progression to that.
Yeah, but I think what I like about it is that it shows it very much from a single character's point of view, and it is the way who
has a horrible situation that she's in, by the way, that she's making the best of. That character is such a trooper.
She is. She's tough.
Wow.
She's from Harlem, though. I mean.
That kind of goes with that saying.
But yeah, I think the thing that this has in common with the first two, completely different setting, completely different characters, whatever. Yeah. This is a small scale story about a person who is struggling with something very specific, and it sticks to that, which was one of the strengths of the first one.
Right.
The first two, it's about these people and their individual story. This is not about the global impact. It's about the impact on this individual.
So obviously the people that made this then did their homework into the first two and continued with those themes and storylines.
Yeah. And I do have some information when we get into spoilers about the prior director of this before they changed directors and stuff. So there was a little bit of shuffling behind the scenes. I'll get into that later.
Please don't tell me John Krasinski dumped this to do If.
No, John Krasinski was not going to direct either time. So, yeah.
Should have.
But yeah, overall, it's very entertaining. I think Sam is, like, from the first scene, a little less likable than the characters in the first one. But at the same time, as you kind of like start to once you understand, like, oh, she's not in a drug rehab program or something, she's just been suffering for no fault of her own. You're like, oh, right. Well, yeah, no, I'd be the same way.
See, and I disagree. I liked her from the word go, especially from when she reads that poem in that group setting. Yeah. I'm like, yes, I am with her.
The poem was funny. I was laughing at that. And not a lot of funny moments in this, but boy, that one was a good one.
And I think from living in New York City too for a time that, yes, those people do exist. Yes, that's how they are. Yep, perfect. That your authenticity is spot on.
Yeah. I think it's got some great suspense, just like the other two. I think. It's got good human moments within those suspense moments.
Yeah, it's not just about the aliens. It is about the people that are trying to survive this horrible situation.
Yeah. The aliens are just there. They're a problem, but it's not about them.
So it almost kind of goes back to like Romero's zombie films, where as those movies went along, it was less about the zombies and more about the people that were stuck in these situations. Yeah. And that's what this is too. So maybe they were taking shots from those films as well.
Maybe so, or maybe, and I'm just going to throw this out here as a thing. You're giving me a look like I'm about to say something insane. No, I'm not. I'm not doing anything weird right now. Don't be suspicious. Maybe they're just interested in good storytelling.
Oh, I thought you were going to say they were interested in like the dribble squad going along the city to save all of humanity.
I'll hit you with that when you're not ready for it. Yeah, no, I also did feel, and I wrote this down before I saw someone else kind of mention it. In some way, and I can't quite put my finger on it, but in some way it feels just a little less finished than script-wise than the other two did. There was something about the some of the individual moments where it felt like, I don't know, like the script could have used just one more little draft of little changes to kind of bring out the characters a little more sometimes.
I felt that was more filler for like the special effects shots that they needed to do. So it was when I felt similar to what you're saying there, but not completely. There was an attack coming or something that was coming that was leading to the aliens showing up and creating havoc, and I think that's why it went that way. But that's my interpretation of that. So
I think there was maybe what it really was that I felt maybe I missed it because I had to go to the bathroom twice. The large soda is large, and I have a tiny bladder.
44 ounces, yes.
And but yeah, I don't know. I just wanted a little bit more of kind of understanding Eric and maybe knowing a little bit more who he was or something. I feel they had
I would agree with, because he shows up and then there's a little bit of backstory from what he explains to Sam, but that's about it.
Yeah.
So, which also makes me think throughout the entire film that when is he going to die?
Yeah, yeah, it's a small critique. Like it is.
Yeah,
it is not a big problem for the movie overall.
It didn't overshadow everything to the point that you were like, I hate this movie.
Right. Yeah. I would have liked a little bit more information about them, so you kind of start to see them connecting over some of those things. But also at the same time, if they talk, they die. So it's tough to do.
Yeah, but it's funny that you didn't get that way about Sam. Like, you kind of understood Sam's story even the more that the movie went along.
Well, and I think I also understood that Sam's story was intentionally kind of obfuscated. Her main goal in this, and this is not spoiler, but her main goal is during the apocalypse to get pizza, and that seems ridiculous. Right. But there's a good reason. She just hasn't said what it is yet. And so,
but beside the search for normality or something that she can hold on to.
Yeah.
In the situation that she's in, other than the obvious.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know. I liked Sam's motivation throughout that, and I
don't blame her. New York pizza's awesome. So I was, as soon as she mentioned that, I was like, yeah, you go, girl.
Well, anyway, I guess let's just let's get into spoilers then here in a second.
Okay.
I think final word for the spoiler-free section is that. I would say
it's a good, solid film. And I would say, even if you haven't seen the other two, this is still worth your time, because this, it's the origin story. You didn't have to see the other two to see this one. So if you're interested in an alien invasion story that's not completely stupid, like Day the Earth Stood Still or something along those lines, yeah, this is a good one.
Yeah, and it is a very human story. It's pretty light on gore and a lot of stuff that you would.
A lot of it is aftermath.
Yeah.
So you don't see people slaughtered in the streets. You get the sense of that because things happen so quickly.
Yeah.
And you see like blood splattering on the ground and on walls, but you don't see like mutilated corpses and stuff everywhere either.
And a lot of it is obfuscated by smoke
rating.
and things like that. So, it sticks to the PG-13. I would probably,
teenage kids,
say they're going to be totally fine. It's not. It's suspenseful, but it's not nightmare fuel in the way that some other things are. Yeah. So
I keep trying to get my son to see this, and he's like, no.
Yeah, well,
and he's 11. So, but I'm like, well, you watch Five Nights at Freddy's. And this is no worse than that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Five Nights at Freddy's, though, is the funny haha game from that Markiplier guy. So that's their brains have shut off the fear part of that, because they're just like, Mark's scared. So, but yeah, overall, I would say it's not got a lot of stuff that's like morally objectionable or anything like that, and except for some cursing, but whatever.
I didn't even notice that, to be honest.
Just mostly in her poem.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Yeah, that's all at the beginning of the film then, to get that out of the way and then go forward.
So, but all right, well, let's get into spoilers. So I want to talk about the opener of the movie. Kind of it set things up well with her Samra's relationship with Ruben, who's the nurse, and kind of giving you an idea, who she's kind of spicy. And it does tell you that she's sick. It doesn't tell you with what, doesn't matter,
right?
Just that she's not got a lot of time, and the last time she went into the city was supposed to be the last time, which I thought was a great line. I was like, the last time was supposed to be the last time. I was like, oh, that's good. That's good writing.
and she's like, we're getting pizza.
Yeah. And I thought that it does a good job of kind of setting up everything you need to know about her without being expositionally overbearing or boring.
Right. It's an interesting character.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's definitely well written. And like Lupita Nyong'o, I do like, and she was perfect for this role.
Yeah, she does a great job with it. She always delivers. I mean, I can't think of a single time she hasn't. She's a solid performer.
Yeah, definitely.
But I liked how they set that up, and then I also really enjoyed when they got to the marionette thing. One, I just thought it was cool, but I loved how they kind of shot it in a way that kind of drew you into how she's looking at this marionette and seeing him, lift off with the balloon and is having an emotional reaction to this, and that moment is all about her in the show. And then when it pops, how that really, messes with her because she's thinking about her own life and how it's just going to be gone at some point.
Yeah.
And I loved that whole sequence. I thought it was, the whole movie shot well. It looks really good.
Yeah.
The cinematography was by a guy named Pat Scola, who, along with the director Michael Sarnowski, they worked on Pig in 2021, which is the
Nicolas Cage movie. Yeah, that's pretty good too. It was one of Nicolas Cage's smaller films that was actually worth watching.
Surprising.
Yeah. Because then he does stuff like Willy's Wonderland that you go, oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
How far has your career fallen? Or even, when he started going down the hole too, I think the film for me that started that was Season of the Witch, because that movie is so bad.
I have never seen that.
Yeah, you don't want to. The only thing I can say good about it is Ron Perlman, and he's not in it a whole lot.
I wish we had a sequel to The Sorcerer's Apprentice, because that was...
Actually, I like that film.
I do too. I really do.
I really wish I know they're talking about National Treasure 3, and that's...
Yep.
Of course he said yes, because... Yeah. Why would you
Paycheck.
Not? Right. Outside of the crudes anymore, this is how you're making your money, dude.
Right, yeah. Plus, that means if they do that, then I can get my National Treasure fix and not have to watch the TV series on Disney+.
There's a TV series for it?
Nope.
Oh.
You're better off living in a world where it doesn't exist.
Oh, yeah. I thought you said I thought you were trying to say that there was one.
No, there is one. I was just telling you. You
just don't watch it.
Yeah, there was hope in your eyes before then, and I wanted you to keep that.
No, I want the hope for like National Treasure 3, not the series.
Yeah, no, I National Treasure 3 is the only sequel. Just stick your head back in the dirt.
I just think it's
style.
Personal story about National. Like when I saw the first one, I didn't see it till it came out on DVD. Mm-hmm. So I had just gone to see a movie that day called Kingdom of Heaven that Ridley Scott did about the Crusades.
Yeah.
And the Knights Templar. So it's interesting that the opening sequence and showing the Knights Templar and how honorable and noble they were. And I was like, didn't I just watch a movie where they're not this at all? I'm like, so historical accuracy is not really on point, but okay, I'm going to keep going because this is kind of Rares of the Lost Ark-ish, and I'm definitely good with that.
And it's so funny to me now thinking back, because at that time I thought Nicolas Cage looked cool. Yeah, he's never looked cool. What was I thinking?
He's always looked like creepy.
Yeah, he's a weird, greasy man.
Yeah.
And apparently in person, an even weirder person to talk to.
You told me that from your friend that worked on Renfield.
Yep. Okay, back to the movie. Just because we get sidetracked so easily. It's always Nicolas Cage too. It's always him.
Right. I don't know why.
Because he's a fascinating character. So the initial attack, they get back on the bus after the marionette show. The initial attack, I think this is the best part of the movie. I honestly, it's the best action part of the movie for sure. And I loved the way that it was,
just because it's so disorienting.
Yeah,
it's and the way that it's shot with the fog and the smoke, and the sound level is down, and all you hear is like the ringing of your ears from explosions.
Yeah.
And that was all, because you're like, okay, if you've seen the other two films, you know what's coming.
Right.
But it's a question of when.
Yeah, when and who's going to go first.
Right.
Yeah. And it is really interesting to see, in a major metropolitan area, are these things stopping to eat, or are they just killing? No, they're just killing.
Right.
They're just on a rampage. And seeing that, and seeing this one person who just happens to not make a noise and get lucky.
Right.
Stumbling around watching one person after another get picked off.
I always thought, I kind of thought for the second when I saw the trailers for this that she was deaf. And that's...
Yeah, me too.
I thought that might have been a little bit more interesting aspect rather than her having cancer. But it still works. I just...
Yeah, and it would have been an interesting through line for all the films to have a deaf component. But they did kind of have that in that moment. And it's a good way to have it where it shows at the beginning New York is 90 decibels all the time. That's just the level of a constant scream, which is true because everyone there is constantly screaming. But but having that where then the impact and then having her ears ring, and then when she finally does get her hearing back, it's to hear someone from the military go, "Ma'am, take cover," and then she crawls under a car and she can hear the tire deflating. The back end's been destroyed, so her foot's stuck. The tire's deflated, and that car's going to crush her. And I have you ever worked on your own cars?
No.
That is, I have been under cars several times because we were poor, and my dad wanted me to be useful, so that too.
Okay.
But the little column A, little column B,
Okay.
God bless my father. He puts up with me. But the
the
tire deflating and that that too. Thank you guys. But feeling a car slowly crushing down on you and or rolling when it's not supposed to while you're underneath it or any of that. Oh my gosh, that is some claustrophobia I cannot express. Yeah. And so seeing that and seeing her, recognize, oh, this is getting smaller and her foot trying to pull it out.
And the typical New Yorker
moment.
Trying to yank her out from underneath that car. And I'm like, you're dead.
And I think this is where I want to talk about the sound design of the movie because it follows with the other two and doing a very good job.
Yeah, it's a big point for the film too, because if that's off, the whole film doesn't really work.
Right, yeah. It's a movie about sound.
Right.
And in a normal movie, sound is 60% of your image. Is kind of the rule of thumb in the industry. In this one, it's 90. Yeah. I mean, it is so important. And they did a really great job with it, except for one teeny tiny itsy bitsy thing.
Okay, I'm curious.
Sometimes the whispering dialogue, I could not hear what they were saying. And this is not a quiet theater for sleeping babies. I'm in a movie theater.
Right.
And there were, especially when they were sitting in the church after he gets her medicine, there were some things that they said there that I just didn't quite catch, and it was really driving me crazy because I was like, I want to know.
Meanwhile, it's funny that my wife asked me, like, what do you say in one of those scenes too? And I actually heard what he said.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. And I was like, normally I'm the deaf one.
That is surprising because you've been to enough concerts that I would think you'd have, 30, 40% of your hearing left?
But I wear earplugs. Every show I go to, I wear earplugs.
Don't go to concerts, so I have the leg up here. Why are my ears not working? Maybe it's just because I pump my own voice into them once a week, and that's my brain is rejecting audio now.
I did think that the alien feeding scene was a little weird.
Yeah,
because I didn't quite. If I really had to make a complaint about that film, that's the scene that I would go to. Going, okay, first off, what are they eating? And I was like, well, is that the cat?
I have in my notes, what were those spores?
Yeah.
Was it a fungus?
Because obviously, they're not eating the humans that they're killing. They're killing them for annihilation purposes.
Right.
So it's not that. And so this is the first time you kind of see this within that series too. but it was just kind of odd. But I was able to forgive it solely for how that scene looked with like the wreckage of the building that was being built and the fires and everything. And the one character trying to stay alive, like it was right in the middle of this that he stumbled into and didn't know it. But it's something that I kind of go back to with like rethinking this film that, okay, what was that?
Yeah, there is no explanation given.
Okay.
And I would want to know from your point of view, do you think that happening and not having an explanation from just from a filmmaking perspective, is that interesting world building or is that frustrating for the audience?
I think it's a little frustrating.
I agree.
Or at least from my perspective, because I wanted a little bit more explanation. And I think it goes back to your complaint about this film in general, is that there should have been a little bit more of that throughout it instead of just kind of these, I hate to say holes, because there weren't huge plot holes or anything in this film.
No.
But little things like that could have been filled in very quickly. But I know, like, when I was watching that film, when we were watching that scene, I was kind of like, okay, first off, what's the point? And number two, other than the guy trying to survive the situation, but yeah, what is the purpose of these spores? Because obviously they're eating them, but they can't see.
Right.
So are they, I guess they just hear them when they're cracking them open, but how do they find them if they're not making any noise?
Well, they've got such intense hearing that you can't hear it, but the spores on a frequency that human ears cannot hear, they're going, tiptoe through the tulips. No, I have no idea.
But that's kind of how my mind works sometimes.
Was that place where they were in that abandoned construction site, was that a meteor landing spot? Was that what that was?
I figured it had to be.
It didn't really show that necessarily, though.
Well, I figured that's why all the fires and everything were there, and there was still so much wreckage as compared to other places within the city.
Yeah. I don't know. That's the only scene that leaves me with like real questions.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily think they're wrong to put a little extra world building there, but I wish that there had been, a shot that shows like, if there was the meteor, if you see the meteor and you see that this stuff is kind of like slowly growing out from it as a food source, maybe then I feel like that would make sense. But because and it's possible I missed a shot or something, or I'm just forgetting something. So I want to throw that out there. But it feels like there could have been a little bit of visual explaining what this was.
Right.
But for us, it's just like, I don't know, is that a new mushroom they're putting in the gabagool these days? I got no idea. And so, yeah, that was also, this is where we need to talk about the cat, because I would let that cat die.
Yeah,
I would not have gone up there.
Thank you.
No.
You when I first said that at the beginning of this, you looked at me like, what a horrible human.
No. I was looking at you through the eyes of my wife. No, I absolutely.
I'm going to hear from Hannah next time I see her about this. I know it.
If the cat runs itself into a monster, I'm not going after a cat. And Hannah on the way home last night, she goes, "Well, can you at least try to understand that? Like that was her support animal, and she's going through all this." And I said yes, and she goes, I said, but on top of that, for whatever reason, when Eric comes up out of the water, and that's the first time we're introduced to him, he's shell shocked, or he just looks at the cat as his guardian angel, and he's not following Sam, he's following Frodo.
Right.
So I understand all that, but I'm gonna let that cat die.
So my wife's flip side to that was, well, if that was a Boston Terrier, would you have let that die too? I'm like, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
That
self-preservation goes a long way.
Yes, absolutely. But I do think that they made a smart choice for a certain subsect of the audience, because if word got out that the cat dies, certain people would not go watch the movie. I think my wife is among them.
The same person that it was the apes treated ethically in Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
Wait, I thought that was just a joke you made. Did someone actually ask that?
Yes. Yeah, no, that was a real thing.
That's amazing.
That's why I made fun of it so much.
Sorry, I'm sorry, but what?
Because my response to them, deadpan as I am, and as sarcastic as I am too, was, well, maybe an animator here and there got like carpal tunnel, but that's about it.
That's great.
And they just kind of looked at me like, huh? And I'm like, yep, I'm done. Thank you.
My gosh,
Go to your movie.
Oh, that's funny. Okay. Yeah, I think okay, the cat getting out, it's a happy feeling. It's the closest you're going to get to a happy ending in a Quiet Place movie.
Yeah.
This one does not have a fully happy ending, but
no. So do we want to segue into that?
no, I got some other stuff to get to before we talk ending. I think.
Okay.
If you'll allow.
Sure.
My good
no,
sir.
go ahead.
So it's funny in the first movie. There's all these newspaper like it's sound, it's noise, and it's plastered everywhere as kind of environmental filling
Right.
you in. And in this one, it's like she gets knocked out, and the time it takes for one cancer patient to take a little nap, they have it figured out. They're just like, we're not waiting to fire up the printing presses on this one.
So that's kind of a dichotomy of New York City people too, because they're smart enough to figure that out, but they're not smart enough to actually get to the water, to get to the boats, to get out of the city.
Oh
fast
my gosh.
enough.
Okay, so let's talk about the mass migration scene. Are you kidding me? You morons.
Yes.
Like they say, get to the water, and everyone's like, let's move as a giant herd. My God, are you stupid? My little brother, he's 17. he got hired to work on a farm while these people were out of town, right? And he said something to me that has stuck in my brain. He goes, he was feeding sheep, and he came home one day and he looks at me and he goes, sheep are so stupid. He goes, do you understand how much God had to dumb them down for them to be an accurate representation of us in the Bible? Because like we're called the flock for a reason, because we're just as dumb as sheep.
Yeah.
My gosh, sheep are dumb.
But this is even like those scenes are even more so that once you start seeing 2 people, 3 people, 10 people, 20 people,
Yeah.
and you go, okay, where are the aliens?
Yeah, I mean the moment that they did the long lens walking down the street shot, and she's walking this way and everyone else is walking that way, I was like, oh man, a lot of people are gonna die.
Yep.
Like
Fast.
very fast. Oh my gosh, so fast. Just I swear, in the first one, maybe this is not how it actually happens, but every time I see it, this is what sticks in my head. When the little boy dies on the bridge, right before the bridge in the first movie,
Okay.
I swear that monster does a cartwheel and grabs him. I swear it's a cartwheel every time.
Well,
because it just kind of like splays out. It's like, wee! And that's basically what's happening to just a crowd of people just buzz sawing through them. It's, oh my gosh.
yeah, that's. But yeah, like we said, they were smart enough to figure out, okay, how not to avoid these things too. But yet, you guys ignore that every chance you get.
Yep.
And you wonder why how many people are dead. So Darwin, yes, survival of the fittest.
I can't imagine why they weren't all going like 3 at a time. Go. And then once they clear the block, 3 more can go. And then once they it would be so easy to coordinate that by not being morons. And,
right.
But, stupid people scared.
But then there's people like me too. Yeah, I'd have been looking for pizza.
I would have been sitting in an alleyway waiting for the attack to happen and just hiding in a little trash bin or something. And then once it got real quiet, I'd just flop myself out on the ground, crawl out there, look around and go, oh, everyone's dead. And then wait to hear a noise back the other way. And once I hear a noise down there, I'm taking off
done.
towards the water.
Yep.
Like, it's not hard.
I did like this scene how they showed that where the aliens weren't smart enough to swim.
Yes. Yeah.
And it dies immediately. And I was like, how they shot that and how that looked. That's like one of the standout scenes from the film that I thought was really cool.
You're talking about the tunnel scene?
Yeah.
Yeah, the tunnel scene's great.
Yeah.
And that has one of those moments. I was talking about those great human moments within suspense. And this is a
one of
great
them.
example of this, because he's about to freak out, and the way that they these people who barely know each other come together, and they have that moment where she's like touching his face, and it's not a romantic thing, whatever. It's just two humans in an awful situation finding comfort with someone that is nearby.
Right.
And that was such an encouraging look at humanity, I think. And I loved that about this. I loved those moments where it was like, hey, I don't know you, but we're gonna be okay if we stick together, or if we, at the very least, if you don't screw it up.
And then they had the best dinner ever in the jazz club: pizza and whiskey.
Pizza and whiskey.
Awesome.
So, did he mention before they got to the jazz club that he does magic tricks?
No.
The only background I know is that when they were in the apartment, he said, "I came here for law school. It was the one thing I was supposed to do."
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, more, please. Just give me something else. Like, what's your favorite color? Anything. And I get that it's not about him, but it does really become about them together. And the whole point of their relationship at the end is that he shows her how to live again. Even in this awful situation, he puts effort into her and giving her what she needs.
Well, and at first she keeps trying to lose him every chance she gets.
Yes, it was very funny.
Because she didn't want to be responsible for another human being, and he's almost like the cat in human form. It's like, okay, I'm going to follow this woman because she's obviously alive where everybody else is getting slaughtered in the street.
Yeah.
So she knows something.
Yeah. And he's completely shell-shocked too. So like once his brain was like, that's what we're doing, it just was like, there's no decision to be made, just keep doing that, I guess. Like he's completely
just keep swimming.
Just keep swimming, swimming. Yeah, I liked their dynamic though. I liked how she was trying to get rid of him, and the moment that she accepts him is when she tries to leave without him from the apartment, and then he brings her notebook with all of her poems in it.
Right.
And she's like, okay, fine, we're in this together.
Yeah.
And then he kind of saves her life almost immediately after that. So it's like good that because she would have gotten herself killed. And so I liked that. I liked it was a very natural progression of their relationship in a very short amount of time. And that's tough to do. That is hard to write. It really is. I've tried to do that. Short films are so hard to write because of that. A feature film is easier to write than a short film most of the time when it comes to finding ways to develop people. In other ways, it's way easier because it's shorter, but it's also, short films are different.
Yeah. How much time do you need to develop a character and do that convincingly and cohesively?
Yeah. And they did it with these two characters in under 100 minutes. So also length of this movie, great.
Yeah. The end credit starts at 1:28:32, I think, from
wonderful.
Yeah, so I was like, so the actual film is like less than an hour and a half.
Yeah.
But I was like, well, why are the credits so long?
It takes a lot of people to make a movie, Andy.
Well, because initially
they got to credit all those cats.
I was like, is there a secret scene? And then you told me when we were sitting there, he's like, you said, there's no secret scene. I was like, oh, good. Well, okay, we can go.
I don't look it up before the movie because I don't want to know before then. But once the credits roll and the lights come up in the theater, I'll look it up then to see if it's worth sitting.
Okay.
There, just because since Marvel, it's half the movies are doing it.
I think it's funny that the one for Inside Out, is helping the crew today clean those theaters. And I was like, well, how many times have you guys seen the secret scene? And my ushers are like, oh God, if I got to see the secret scene one more. And they're like, it's not that good.
Boy,
it's funny to get the reaction.
Tell us how you really feel, guys.
Yeah, no, but it's funny to me.
Yeah. Ruben's death was pretty sad, and I think also completely unnecessary from a reality standpoint, because they went out there to shut off the generator after the lights go off. Because the lights go off, the power goes out in the city, and then the generator kicks on at the theater, and they go outside, and he's trying to cut off the fuel line, right?
Yeah, but I didn't want him to live.
Well, no, but I'm just saying, like, in that situation, at first I was like, yeah, I get why you're going to turn it off, because I thought it was inside. But if it was outside, the monster would have shown up, destroyed that, and went, oh, it's quiet, and then would have left.
Okay.
He didn't have to die.
I didn't think about that, but okay.
Also, he died because he ripped his shirt.
So how good is the hearing on those the aliens?
Right. And why can they not hear people walking? That was the other
On broken glass and everything else that's been destroyed in this city too.
That's like a minor inconsistency here because in the first one there's a lot of running around that the monsters don't hear, but they have the reasoning that they've put down the soft sand that muffles it enough that it doesn't alert them. In this one, you're in concrete, like, oh baby, your feet are slapping against that asphalt like nobody's business. There's nothing you can do about it.
Right.
And they just kind of are like, nah, they don't hear it. It's fine. So minor inconsistency, not really a problem. We get it. The walking, like they don't mix it where you can hear the footsteps most of the time. So you're just like, all right, they're being quiet
she had
enough.
the perfect shoes for that too. She had those Chuck Taylors.
Yeah, yeah.
So I was like, oh, I guess you're going to be in the situation. Yeah, you got the urban survival gear to go through this.
If only she'd been in the loony bin instead, then she could have had the soft fuzzy slippers. They would never hear anything she does. I did like the screaming during the thunderclaps scene. That was another one of those moments I was like, I totally understand. It's ballsy. It's ballsy to attempt that.
Right.
But it's good. And I totally get, like, again, from a human element, it's one of those moments where it really shows how people deal with stress and stuff. And I enjoyed that they gave them the time to do that. And it slows down that pacing a little bit when they get in there and allows you to kind of breathe with them. But
it still goes back to that humanistic element that maintains through these films.
Yes, yeah, and I really appreciated that. Like in a movie this not short, but not overly long.
Right.
To take the time for those things is one shows an understanding of what is needed to connect to a character, and two, the understanding of pacing and knowing that you cannot go pedal to the metal all the time in every movie. You can in Mad Max, but that's a special case.
That's different. Yeah.
It's a completely different animal than this, and I really like that scene overall.
Yeah. No, I agree with you.
Let's see. I think, so we get to the end and they finally make it to Patsy's, and Patsy's is destroyed.
Gone.
It's the one thing burnt down on that block.
It's a hole in a wall.
And man, that was devastating. Like when you see, they just cut to it and you're just like, oh no.
Yeah, no pizza?
Yeah. And then I loved, that Eric goes out and finds another pizza place and just writes Patsy's on the box. And just the fact that...
And it's pristine pizza, too. It looked great.
Yeah, it did.
I'm like, how?
And according to New York health standards, that had been probably uncovered for about 24 hours and was still perfectly fine for sale. So... no, I loved that whole thing because I just was sitting there going, that is a great example of someone just putting in the effort to love someone who needs it.
Right.
And again, and I didn't really think about this till we started recording, but this is such a positive look at how we can take care of one another. And I freaking love that. I love that you can have an alien invasion movie that's about the humans and us being people who can reach out to one another even when we feel we have nothing in common.
Although her expression when she takes a bite of that pizza was like,
yeah, it's fine. Yeah, but he takes it in stride. He kind of laughs about it and stuff.
Yeah.
And that's just her character. She's she's sassy.
Yeah. That's the nice way of putting it. Yeah.
And the fact that he brought her, to the jazz club, and like when she's sitting there and she's at her lowest point, like, I can't even do this before I die.
Right.
And he's like, where did your dad play? And takes her there, make sure she gets there, make sure she has the chance to be there one more time.
Right.
It's an incredibly sweet thing to do. And and I wasn't expecting that going into this. I really thought that this one was going to be the action movie version of A Quiet Place and show how things, where did it start? Did they spread? Did more land? We still don't know. They tried to we know they tried to trap them all on Staten Island. Not Staten Island, but the main landmass of New York City.
Yeah, Manhattan.
It's Manhattan. That's right. And so I think that was interesting, and kind of seeing how they were trying to deal with this issue from a military standpoint.
Which doesn't ring well for the military in this film, to be honest. Like I said,
no.
I think they're dumber than the New Yorkers. Because large noise, helicopters, and blaring speakers. Did you just want to say you're going to die now? Just stand in the street and be ready for it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not 100% sure what the plan was there, but also how else do you tell people information when there's no way to communicate except to fly overhead and make a loud noise?
I thought radios, if they have headphones or something like that.
Yeah, but most of the people down on the ground don't. So I don't know what else they could have done, but also, since they know that sounds attracts them, park a big boat on one side of Manhattan.
Just put up a big sign.
Fire big guns on that side. And then tell people to go to the other side. You fly overhead, you go south. In 30 minutes, you'll know when to go. And then in 30 minutes, on the north side, bang, 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 bang. You just fire every big gun you have.
The problem that you have, again, is the cattle call mass rushing that most of the people are going to get exterminated from that, too.
Well, right, but if the monsters are so distracted by the rail guns and other stuff that's on the USS Screw You, then that'll be loud enough to cover up. It's the same concept as Talk Under the Rain.
Okay.
I'm just saying they could have saved all those people.
Okay. Well, some of them were too dumb to live, too. So
that's true. But that's true of every generation, I suppose.
Yes.
I think, they definitely went for like mass dissemination of information from the military to the people on the ground. And that is one thing you can do, but I think that it would have been more tactically advantageous to send a small crew of military and have them, ascertain what's going on, report back, and find a way to work around this.
Well, they kind of showed that in a way because they showed all those destroyed ATVs, and they didn't have dead military soldiers standing around, but you kind of saw that.
Yeah, but I'm thinking... I'm still thinking that's too big a force. You need something that's going to go under the radar, completely unseen. Maybe something small. Something... Maybe guinea pigs. I'm thinking guinea pigs with superpowers.
Yeah,
I'm thinking G-Force. I think G-Force is what we should send.
I started laughing like 5 minutes before the joke happened.
I told you wouldn't see it coming, though, because for a second you thought I was being serious about military tactics. Oh, come on. Not even for a second?
Okay, maybe for a second.
That's all I wanted.
Okay. Congratulations, Garrett.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
I put a lot of work into those.
I know you do.
Because I'm dumb.
Useless information and wasted time. That's it. You're wasted time, useless information. That's
welcome to the grand review.
Yes.
So they're at the end. Okay, so I got to talk about this. You tell me if I'm crazy. When we get to the end, right? And Sam has given Eric her coat, her yellow sweater. And then she gives him the cat, and she goes off and makes a bunch of noise so that Eric can get to the boat with Frodo.
Yeah.
It's just so funny to say Frodo in this movie. But she does that. I think it's mostly a good scene.
Yeah.
I feel like it's almost overly short, though. Like there should have been a couple more things in the way for him. I don't know how he would have done it. But I felt
then that would have messed with your perfect runtime.
I would have been okay with 3 more minutes. I would have been okay with it.
Okay.
but I don't know. I just felt like, well, yeah, okay. Like he almost gets hit a couple of times with things smashing right past him. Those are great moments, and I love that stuff. I think I just wanted there to be 1 or 2 extra little hurdles that he had to get past or something. But I don't know what that could have been, and I'm not knocking the movie for it. I just felt like it was just a little bit like, oh, okay.
No, because he's like a hair length away from getting snatched a couple of times in that run.
That's true. I'm aware this is probably an unfair
I was criticism. Fine with it.
Well, then I'm wrong.
No, you're not wrong. It's just your opinion.
No, that's
not the right one, but it's
the same
your
thing,
opinion.
Andy. It's my opinion and wrong. It's the same thing every time.
No, I would not agree with that.
See, I was wrong again. But I did think, okay, so I do love that last little bit where he's running to the end of the pier and he just barely makes it. He almost gets swiped. I love all that. But I did start laughing when it happened. Did you hear me laugh?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, why do you think I laughed?
because it was just a little on the ridiculous side?
No, not at all. I thought it was perfectly that I have no problem with what I saw on the screen.
Okay.
But when he makes it, the music starts and the first note goes boom, and it sounds like someone started up a Macintosh. It's exactly the same tone. I have started so many Macs in my life. When I heard it, I literally looked around and went, "Who's starting a laptop in the movie theater?" Oh, it was the music. And I can't. If I can find that clip online, I'll put it on our on our Instagram and our Facebook page, and I'll show that clip and the music starting, and then I'll show the Mac startup chime, and you can decide for yourself. You can find us online, Grand Review Pod, but.
I think it would have been a little bit better if actually he had gotten sliced in half trying to jump off that pier, and the cat was the only one that survived.
I don't disagree with you.
You're laughing, but yeah, you're not disagreeing with me.
I mean, he tried. It was all about the cat the whole time. Cat's actually the secret main character.
I think that would have given the more like, oh my God, this is definitely, we're done.
Would it have been too devastating for the audience, I wonder? Nah, it would have been worse if the cat's head got chopped off and Eric made it. That would have been too depressing.
Hannah would have hated the film automatically.
She would have come out of that and then been like, "Where's the film? Where's it? I'm going to burn every copy you have."
Just like I almost did with Spider-Man 3.
Yeah.
Well, no, I didn't want it. Back when it was still film and we had that come into the theater.
Did you walk both ways uphill in the snow to get to work?
No.
Back in my day, just kidding.
No, but the emo part inspired. I almost took a pair of scissors too, just so nobody else would ever have to watch that scene.
That's fair. It's very clear that Sam Raimi was correct when he said he didn't understand Venom.
Yes.
Because I don't think Venom ever makes someone break down into the boogie.
I'm not gonna. I really do like Sam Raimi, so I've met him too. So I can't.
You can appreciate what people make that you like while still criticizing the things they make that you don't like.
Right.
Because it's not about the person, it's about the content.
No, when I was standing in front of him and I was talking to him, it almost came out of my mouth and go, "What the were you thinking?" But no, what actually came out of my mouth was Darkman is one of my favorite movies. I absolutely love it. I thank you for making that film. I just think it's genius. And he's like, "Oh, you really like that movie?" And I was like, "Yeah, I think it was a comic book film before comic book films were not popular."
Yeah.
So I think if that film had come out like 10 years later, it might have had a better calling than it did when it came out.
Well, sucks to suck. They timed it wrong.
No.
Where were we?
So we're saying that my ending to the film would have been a little bit better.
Right.
With Eric being chopped in half and the cat living. But the problem is the cat wouldn't swim.
Yeah.
So
cat would die.
All dead.
Some cats can swim, though. Some cats can swim just fine. Some cats actually like the water. It's very weird to see. Yeah, I've seen videos of it online. And the cat's just like, do, like they'll beg to go out and swim. It's weird.
Huh.
I don't know. Most cats are Satan's spawn, so they're there to confuse us.
But then the other thing, too, Dijon Hinzu was in this, and you really would not have even known it.
I was just about to say, you know who we haven't mentioned because he's not in it as much as he should have been?
Yeah.
Yeah, I really thought this movie was going to be about her
Sam and him.
And Sam and Henry is his character's name, Jimon Hunsu.
Yeah, because he wasn't even on the screen long enough for us to get that.
I know, it was... and I know he's in A Quiet Place Part 2, and he's got a bit more of a role there, so maybe it's just kind of like an Easter egg
I
to
keep
have him
forgetting that he
be
was
there.
in the second one.
Yeah.
Okay.
So maybe it's just like an Easter egg sort of thing and be like, oh, fun little, this is the connective tissue because it's in a different place and this is where he came from. And now you know. Yeah. But yeah, I really thought he shows up in so many big franchises. And I don't know if he has something in his contract that says he can't work more than 2 days on set or something, but he just is never in things as much as you'd think he would be.
No.
And I would like to see him do something more.
I still remember when I first ever saw him was when he was on ER, the television show.
Oh, yeah.
And he was a janitor. But it's probably not irrelevant, a little bit on the irrelevant side, but I've always thought he was a good actor.
I would never think such a thing would happen.
But then he does stuff like Never Back Down with Amber Heard that yeah, that film needs to be burned.
They can't all be winners.
No,
but
that's definitely not one of them.
Yeah, no, I wish there had been more of his character in there. There's a moment where he is trying to get a guy who's panicking on a rooftop, which is what I was referencing in the intro. Thank you. I put some thought into it this week. Where he kind of tries to get him to shut up because the guy, for some reason, just will not stop trying to scream, "We're all going to die."
He punched him out. That was great.
Why did he need to scream that, even after being shushed for so long? But he's holding this guy quiet. He looks down the stairs. He sees his son, and then when the guy starts to scream, he like shoves him back into the wall and accidentally kills him. And then he looks down, and his son is gone from the stairwell now. And it's like it sets up this thing that is a really interesting story now.
Very primal.
Because how does he get his son out of there? Mm-hmm. Now, with having had this awful situation happen, and his son maybe doesn't trust him anymore. Like, there's a whole story there. I would like to see that too. Like,
that's a whole other movie.
I think so. Yeah. So if they do
Quiet Place Day 2,
Day 1 Part 2, I'd like to see that because, and by the end of it, I don't know. His son's probably on the boat, but I didn't see. It was more focused on him and Eric in that last scene, but. I don't know.
Because I didn't see him either. You're right.
Yeah. It's good. It's a good movie.
Yeah.
I know, like, we've got our individual little quiggles with certain scenes and stuff that we're like, maybe this could have been, a little better or whatever. Mm-hmm. But overall,
decent film. Yeah.
Let me put it this way. There are some things to talk about as like, I would have liked to see more of this or whatever.
Right.
But it is not a frustrating conversation to have about those things. It is instead like, I liked this too and would have wanted a little more of that or maybe a little something here for a bit of explanation. I think that would have been interesting. And it's not because they screwed up the movie.
No.
So maybe it sounds like we're being harsh, but it's a good movie. Can open the door for you to have conversation about the art form itself and how that art form was executed in the product you just saw. And that is fun. That's what we love about them.
And that's why we do this podcast.
That's exactly why we do this podcast. Also, if I don't leave the house once a week, my wife will go crazy.
Yeah, but you bring Hannah with you when we come to see these movies.
Yeah, but not to the recording. When I do the recording, she is mercifully, for her, elsewhere, not having to hear me talk.
So that's where
anymore.
Hannah's gonna thank me in the long run.
Absolutely. I think this has saved both of our marriages, honestly.
Interesting. Okay.
All right. Well, that's A Quiet Place. Go check it out.
Definitely.
It's definitely if you're here in the Central Texas area, come to Grand Avenue Theater to see it.
Yep. We're probably gonna have it until Deadpool comes out.
Yeah. So we've got about a month of playtime there.
Because I know the conversation we're having with the film buyers right now. The 30th anniversary of Lion King is the 11th. We are opening that.
Oh, nice.
So that's confirmed. Tickets go on sale July 1st.
Cool.
So that'll be my first thing Monday morning when I walk in the door. And then next week, Wednesday, is Despicable Me 4 and Sound of Hope, the Possum Trot Story.
That's right. Yep.
And then nothing after that until the week after. 19th is Twisters.
Yes.
Which I know we're going to have to do that for the podcast. I'm not looking forward to it, to be honest.
I'm kind of looking forward to it in the sense of just a dumb disaster movie.
That's actually what I was told. It's
a dumb disaster movie?
Yes.
Well, as long as it's better than Moonfall.
I never even bothered with Moonfall.
I didn't either. I watched people do essays on it, and it's hilarious.
The trailer was enough for me, and I was like, you've got to be kidding me.
I didn't get past the name before I decided I didn't want to see it. I'm sorry, Moonfall?
But then I wasn't working here at the time. I was amazed anybody showed up for it. I was like, is there really that many stupid people?
Yes.
Because I'm like, the ad campaign for that was terrible.
It's one of the most ridiculous, dumb things that's ever been greenlit.
And it shouldn't surprise me because Roland Emmerich's behind that, who's Independence Day.
Yep.
And I still think the only good film he ever did was one of the first films he did was Moon 44.
Moon 44?
Yeah, that's actually, it's an interesting sci-fi film. It's got Michael Pare, not a big cast, and Malcolm McDowell, who you shout science fiction cheap film, he comes running.
Yes.
So
hey, he found his niche.
and it's about like the battle for mineral rights on one of the moons, I think, of Jupiter.
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure about that, but it's actually a decent story. It's not big on special effects. It's kind of a smaller film, but it's really good. And then there's Independence Day and the rest of these. Oh, he did that Day After Tomorrow too. That's another one I hated.
I will still defend it because it was the first disaster movie I ever saw as a kid. And I just thought that the scale of it was incredible.
Yeah, but I grew up on like the Towering Inferno and Earthquake and those films, and I didn't like those either.
Maybe you just don't like disaster movies.
I don't. Well, I'll be the first to admit that. I really don't like disaster. And I never bothered with 2012.
I didn't either.
Because that looked terrible too.
No. But they did do some incredible work as far as the VFX for the buildings crumbling and stuff. It was those were actual simulations. And so from a technical standpoint, that movie's got some really cool stuff.
So I saw that in the trailer and that was enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
But there was some, how do I put this? There were some technological advancements done during the producing of that movie that have benefited us in other movies since.
Okay.
So that's neat.
I'm still not going to watch it.
Oh, no, don't.
I thought you were trying to convince me to watch that there for a second. No, that's not happening.
Credit where credit is due. Even if Roland Emmerich's movies are dumb, there are some very, very talented people who work on them that do incredible, miniature work and VFX work and all that kind of stuff.
I guess for that respect, those people are like, yes, I actually did Moonfall, or yes, I actually did this.
Yeah.
But anybody else is like, you really worked on that film, really? I hope you got paid well.
There's certain people you can tell those things to, and certain people you give a truncated resume to. Yeah, because it's funny, it's pretty much always the blame ends up on the director. But also, if you're like a VFX supervisor or something on it, even if your work is great, if the movie tanks, a producer somewhere who, for some reason, still doesn't understand how the entertainment industry actually works will go, "Oh, you worked on that bomb? I don't want you." It's like, no, I did the only stuff that was good from that. Well, it didn't make money, so it's just like.
And then we got confirmed yesterday for Borderlands. We are opening that.
Are doing Borderlands.
It is PG-13.
That's not going to bode well for the audience.
No,
sure.
But at least it's not going to be the problem I'm going to have with Deadpool.
Yeah,
because Deadpool is going to be a hard R.
Yeah,
and which is one of the news things that I have for I didn't have much.
Yes, the news about that.
So Wesley Snipes is supposed to have an actual part as Blade in this Deadpool Wolverine film, which I'm really excited for. Yeah.
Okay. So
I don't know how
they managed to get the old Blade back before they made a new Blade.
Well, at the rate that it's going, that new Blade's never going to get made.
I've got some news about that.
Okay, because I know Mia Goth is now the bad guy in that.
Yeah, she's been cast in it.
Which I like her, but I don't all at the same time.
Have you seen the Maxine movies?
Yes.
Okay,
I've seen X, which I liked. It's extremely slow starting. Like it takes about 40 minutes to get to like the good killing.
That's about how my first car was too.
Oh,
very slow off the start, but at about 40 minutes, it did feel like it was going to rattle your teeth out.
Oh wow! And then Pearl is actually the prequel to X, and that's pretty decent. It's a different kind of film and different kind of story, even though it is a horror film, but it's not horrifying. It's a lot of psychological drama to that made sense for what it is.
Hey, that may be horrifying for someone who got out of a narcissistic relationship.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about TikTok narcissism where someone just happens to think of themselves once a week. I'm talking about narcissism.
Okay. But then, yeah, Maxine's coming out. We're not going to play it. We didn't play the other two, so I didn't see any need to start now.
Yeah.
But the stuff that I'm reading on it is not good.
On Maxine? Yeah. No, I haven't. I saw someone go, it's a competently made thing that means nothing.
Right. That's the same thing that I read.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. I'd never seen any trailers for any of them, so I never picked them up, but whatever.
X isn't bad. And like I said, Pearl's not bad either. They're just very different kind of films. It's interesting that they've tied this together from like 3 different time frames to this little mini series that they've done.
Why have things make sense, Andy, when you can do something else?
I guess so, especially in the horror world. Nothing makes sense anymore after some of the stuff I've seen lately.
Nah, just make something bloody or something where a pool tries to eat somebody. I don't know.
Well, and see, that's where actually these films have a story to them, which I like the fact that at least there is not just senseless gore, violence, and sex.
Yeah,
there is a point to these things, and the first trailers I saw for Maxine actually looked pretty good, but then, like I said, I honestly will probably end up going to see it. Just because I've seen the other two, I want to see where this last one goes and how it wraps up.
Well, and sometimes critics are just wrong.
Most of the time they are, except us.
No, we're always right, 100% of the time.
That's what I was going for. Because honestly, but most of the time, what I look at, like the worst reviewed films that I've ever seen critics do, those are the first movies I go see.
Yeah,
because most of the time they're way off.
Most of the time they're way off, and if they are correct, there's no way they can fit in all of the minutia of how bad something can really be into a review.
the one exception to that the critics were right, and I still wanted to see how that film turned out, was Mother by Darren Aronofsky.
I read a synopsis and was just like, I don't want this new age crap in my brain.
Well, the whole thing is everything I was reading is it's a terrible film, it's a horrible film, but I never saw any justification for why. And that's where I was like, well, you can't say something's bad without having a reason behind it. Mm-hmm. And that was the driving force on me going to see that film. Is like, okay, I want to see why this film is so bad. Mm-hmm. And the first half of that film is actually pretty good.
That's what I've heard. Is the second half is like really.
The second half spirals way out of. It's almost like it had two different writers, and spirals out of control. And then, I saw that with my wife, Jessica, and we're both sitting there like the first half. I'm like, okay, why is this getting all these bad reviews? And then the last part, I'm like, okay, yes, now we know.
All right. So just in 10 seconds, what was bad about it?
It just goes off the rails and psychotic that didn't need to be.
Cool.
And the point where Jennifer Lawrence has the son to this, the main character, I think it's Javier Bardem is the main character. Mm. And the followers of that, like, grab this baby, end up like popping its head off and crucifying it. And it's extremely graphic, and it's very unsettling, and it's almost unwatchable at that point to me.
So it's almost like a ham-fisted metaphor for a misunderstanding of the entirety of Jesus' sacrifice. Cool. Good job, Darren Aronofsky. Gosh.
But meanwhile, I like Darren Aronofsky. I do.
With what he did with the Noah story and then Mother, and I did at the time. I never watched the movie, but I did read people's analysis of it and talking about specific moments.
Mother or Noah?
Mother.
Okay.
And I read a lot on that because I was like, I don't want to give money to it because I knew already that it was drawing allegories that are, quite frankly, just stupid. But I think that by the time that I'd finished reading it, I was just like, I don't want to. Filmmakers, especially ones like Darren Aronofsky, have a very particular worldview they're putting out, mm-hmm. and you're allowed to do that. And I'm not saying that creatives shouldn't be allowed to do that. It's not nothing like that. But for me, it's not my jam. So I'm just like,
okay, so I understand.
Whatever,
but then there's films like Black Swan that I really liked. The Fountain I really liked, even though it wasn't.
I've heard a lot of people talk about The Fountain. Yeah.
It wasn't a commercial success, but I think that film's amazing. And even going back to his first film, Pi I really liked. And got
American or European?
No, 3.17.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
I'm not going to be like the Monty Python or Holy Grail world. Off the bridge.
I think it's 3.14. So
I don't know the number but I got banned from a theater in Pittsburgh because.
Oh, I thought you were going to say you got banned from a math convention. I was like, yeah, that makes sense.
At this point, I should be. But I had already seen the film. I went and saw it with somebody else. The theater that I went to, they were showing, it's a flat film with the anamorphic ratio of 1.85 to 1. Mm-hmm. They were running it through a scope lens. So it's all squishy people.
Yep.
And, the aperture plate on that's wrong too. So it looks bad. So I went and told them, I said, hey, you're running the film wrong. And I was being nice about it too.
Right, yeah.
And I guess the manager was like, well, you think you know so much. You go up and fix it because I've tried and you don't know what you're talking about. Lead the way.
Something like that?
No, it was just about word for word what I said. He wasn't swearing at me or anything.
Well, that makes that whole gag less fun.
But I was like,
Andy, we cannot say that on the show.
meanwhile, I didn't say anything.
I know.
You had to use that
I've never
button
gotten to
just
use the
once.
censor button.
I know, because we keep it PG rated here on the Grand Review.
I know.
So.
I just wanted to. We never get to go like. And I thought it would be fun.
So, end of the story is that, I go up to the projection booth with this guy. I fix it, and I show him. So this is how it's supposed to look. And I get tossed out of the theater and told never to come back.
So he gets mad that you came and told him, you go fix the problem. It's better. And then he throws you out and says, never come back. America.
Irony of all ironies to that, 3 weeks later, the theater closed.
Well, it might be because if their budgets were as squished as their people on screen, I can see how that would happen.
Yep. And I was like, serves you right.
Oh, my gosh. Other news, I guess?
Yeah,
sure.
Okay, tell me your Blade story, because
right.
This whole story behind trying to get this film made is like super fascinating to me because it's a train wreck.
So it's a small amount of information, but Mia Goth specifically came out and was talking about it and says that the exact quote is they really care. They want to make a great movie.
Okay,
but
prove it.
Yeah, make one. Make a movie. Maybe.
Because
Start with that.
I know the main guy is getting really impatient.
Yeah, so that was the other thing is Mahershala Ali, I believe I'm saying his name correctly, has come out, or there's reports that he's getting very frustrated by it. He's handpicked the director that replaced the original director, who Marvel wanted out because they felt he wasn't the right fit for the project. And they said, we can bring people to you. And he said, no, I'm going to go pick the director. So they gave him the go-ahead.
Okay.
He went and picked this director. And then the period of the movie where it was set in changed from like more modern to 1920s. And they're doing that. And then recently, that guy leaves. The director leaves. And now the script has been rewritten again. And now it's set in modern day. So the movie has changed directors 3 times, if you count the original.
Uh-huh.
So changed twice since the original. And then also has changed time periods and in script entirely in 2 different places.
It's going to be a train wreck.
I don't know. I mean, okay, look, if they let the new writers come in and very specifically go, find a good story and tell a good story, and it's not beholden to
but that
a
should have
whole
been
bunch
done
of other stuff. Oh yeah,
long
absolutely.
before. Like doing this now, you're setting yourself up for failure.
Yes, but what they need to do is these other 2 scripts that have already been done. Okay, so in screenwriting, there's this idea that nothing is ever finished; it's just released. That's filmmaking in general.
Yeah.
But with writing, there is no final draft. Your final draft.
Yeah, because even Lucas has said that about the Star Wars.
Yeah, absolutely. And then another thing that we say a lot of the time is you write the movie 3 times. When you write it, when you shoot it, and when you edit it. Mm-hmm. And you rewrite it each time.
Yeah.
And so, but there is a certain point where you're no longer massaging the script to make it better. You are just causing things to fall apart.
And this is that case.
And I think that this 3rd draft, if they're going to do this and they're going to make this movie, because everything else that was announced alongside this has already come and gone.
Right.
Thor, Love and Thunder, all of them. And if they're going to do this, those first 2 drafts need to be completely thrown out and not showed to those writers.
Yep.
They need to have none of that baggage, or this will end up being muddled. And
that's an understatement.
I don't know how they can do that. If they showed these guys what they were already working on, it's like, well, you just kind of shot yourself down in the foot there.
The ultimate, this is the projected path I see taking with this film, that Mahershala Ali gets so frustrated, he pulls out of it, and then it just implodes and the film never gets made.
Yeah, I would have thought that would have happened by now.
Yeah.
But obviously he cares about it. Obviously, or the contract is too expensive to get out of. But
that too.
But yeah, I know he's getting frustrated with it. I think a lot of Blade fans are frustrated with it.
Me included, especially since that 3rd Blade film was awful.
Well, Wesley Snipes came out and said something too. Let me see if I can pull that up.
Okay.
All right. So here's the quote.
Okay.
Wesley Snipes said, and this is a direct quote from his tweet. Blade, lordy, lordy, lordy. Folks still looking for the secret sauce. Riding snowmobiles in traffic. Kind of rough. Daywalkers make it look easy, don't they? I'm not going to pretend to understand what I just read. What does riding snowmobiles in traffic mean? I don't know.
That it's a train wreck.
But there's no trains mentioned.
Yeah, but it's still the same kind of analogy.
But yeah, just an interesting little quote from Wesley Snipes. He's sniping back and forth a little bit.
But did he even? I guess he didn't think of that before he said it.
You didn't think of what?
What he said.
Who knows what goes on in Wesley Snipes' brain? He thinks it's appropriate workplace behavior to only talk to your boss through Post-it notes. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know what he's thinking at any given moment. But yeah, so Mia Goth, definitely. She says they really care. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
So Scarlett Johansson says that the script for the new Jurassic World sequel is incredible.
By whose standards?
Okay. So here's where I think there's maybe a touch of hope. Just a touch.
Okay.
So the writer of the 2 original Spielberg movies, David Koepp, I think is Cope. He's returning to the series and he's writing it. So it's actually the same writer as the first one.
Okay.
And The Lost World is derided a lot for certain things, but is still generally filled with, well, it's got the Spielberg magic at least. But less than the first one.
Lost World I had issues with, and that's probably why I always stayed away from number 3 for the longest time until people said actually it's not as bad as you think.
I have a soft spot for number 3.
Honestly, the third one's really not that bad.
Yeah, it's so much. It's
got
more
William H. Macy. So
yeah, it's got William H. Macy and what is her name? I can't remember her name now, but the lead girl in that is great. She was in Fun with Dick and Jane too. What is her name?
Oh, Téa Leoni.
Yes, Téa Leoni. Who?
Mrs. David Duchovny. Or they were for. They were
really?
Married. Yeah, they were married for a long time.
I thought that. Who was it that Liam Neeson was married to for a long time?
Natasha Richardson.
Natasha Richardson, that's right. And she unfortunately passed away in a skiing accident. Anyway, but
that's a sad story.
Also, I love Alan's character, and I love that performer. He's in Hunt for the Wilder People. If you haven't gotten around to seeing that,
no,
yet.
I haven't gotten to see that yet. I did. That's for once.
This is on my list.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that I think that he's just fun to watch. He's a good performer, and and so yeah, I like Jurassic Park 3. But anyway, yeah, they've got the writer of the original 2 coming back, and Scarlett Johansson really wanted to be in this. She said she's been trying to get into a Jurassic World movie for 10 years. She was like, I told them I'll die in the first 5 minutes. I can get eaten by whatever. I'll do the craft service. I'll do anything for it. And so she's really excited about it, which I kind of like. I like when actors are like, no, this is something I really love about it.
Not phoning it in and going, yes, I want to be part of the Jurassic World series. Yes, please.
Yes, please. I talked to my agent about my retainer. Also, I only want blue M&Ms. So I do like that she seems like she really wants to
being
do
very
it.
enthusiastic about this and genuine. Yeah, that's cool.
So I don't know what else you can do with the Jurassic Park movie at the moment.
I don't either.
But I'm still going to go see this because I love dinosaurs. There is a 4-year-old boy inside of me just controlling my arms and legs like a giant meat puppet. And that's why I sound like such a child on the show.
I think I'm one of the few people that think Dominion wasn't as horrible as everybody else thought it was. Like there is something about that film that I do like. Is there a problem with that film? Is that they have great scenes and just built an entire movie around it? Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But it's not as horrible as everybody makes it out to be.
I also think that people got weirdly upset about when it's Chris Pratt and the woman that he's with on the ice cap. I can't remember what her character's name is. But she pulls out a knife and everyone's like, "Oh, this is some crazy woke crap." I'm just like, they crashed a plane. All she has is a knife. I'd pull out the knife too. What are you mad about? And some of the action scenes in that are like, you gotta suspend your disbelief more than any of the other ones.
Yeah, but is that any different than any of the other Jurassic Park films?
I think it is a little worse in some ways in some of those things, but at the same time, I don't care. I don't care.
Right? No,
it's dumb dinosaur stuff.
But if you're going to make that complaint, that's when I come back is it any worse than really any of the other Jurassic Park films in that respect?
The first one is more grounded. The first one's
The first one
definitely more
is,
grounded.
yeah. And Stan Winston's special effects on that, just amazing.
Yeah. And the fact that the CG holds up as well as it does now.
It does.
Insane.
I love the Triceratops scene.
Yeah.
From the first Jurassic Park. I think that that scene is amazing.
I mean, that is a big pile what's funny is that when I do it, I'm bleeping it, but I'm also not saying it.
You're right. That's so just wasting everybody's time. Okay.
Yeah, it's a podcast. No,
Okay.
I'm excited about that though. So real briefly, I just want to touch on Captain America: Brave New World.
Yeah, which I saw stuff for in Vegas.
I'm a little excited that Tim Blake Nelson is coming back and Liv Tyler's coming back because it feels like they really tried to bury the fact that first Hulk movie ever happened because of Edward Norton and getting rid of him.
That wasn't the first Hulk film, though.
It was the first one that was part of the MCU. The first Incredible Hulk, the Ang Lee one, not connected to anything else. No, that movie's incredible. You kidding me? Hulk dogs? That's awesome. No, that movie's awful garbage. I'm not. Don't give me that look, Andy. You know me better than this. I would not defend Ang Lee's Hulk.
No, that's been like battle lines right there because I really hate that film. But
we should do a commentary of that movie.
I like the Ed Norton one.
I do too. Yeah,
there's a lot of good things and they brought in Rampage for that, and I thought that was great.
Tim Roth does a great job.
Yeah,
you totally believe that small angry man would kill everything he in his path if he could.
And that's really where they should have started it. Not I really don't understand why that Ang Lee one got made, other than the fact that they wanted a Hulk film. They found him as a director. And no, that's not something that Ang Lee should be doing.
Ang Lee was very hot at the time.
He was.
And then the other thing is that was a time where Marvel still had not tried to put together a full plan. They were just trying to sell their rights to whatever to get something sold because they were in financial solvency.
And William Hurt's in that film. William Hurt is in the Ed Norton one.
Yes, yeah. And his character showed back up in Captain America: Civil War.
Yep.
William Hurt, unfortunately, has passed away. So we've got now Harrison Ford replacing his character as General Thunderbolt Ross, who now is, in this movie, going to be the president of the U.S.
Yep.
So that's interesting.
Because that's the stuff they showed us in Vegas.
I wonder if he'll be a Hulk himself.
No, I don't think they're going that route.
I think that happens in the comics, but I can't remember.
It's Anthony. This takes over with Anthony Mackie being
And so that's a lot of what we've seen.
But it's
kind of story details leaking out is Anthony Mackie is Captain America now,
right?
And I think the director Julius Ona, who
it's got a weird release date though.
What's the release date?
Valentine's Day.
That is
year.
Weird. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I love America, so that's nice.
It's not a film that screams Valentine's Day though.
No, but you know what? People are getting nerdier every year. So for some people, this might be the perfect Valentine's date.
Maybe.
Not me.
No, not me either.
But okay, Julius Ona directed The Girl Is in Trouble and a film called Loose. It's either Loose or Lucy. I'm not 100% sure. That movie was Luce. Yeah.
Okay, I saw that.
You've seen that?
Yeah, I hated it.
Okay. I've seen another one of his movies, The Cloverfield Paradox, and I hated that.
I didn't see that. I've seen Cloverfield, which I didn't like either. I've seen Cloverfield Lane, but that's a great movie. That's a great movie.
Yeah.
And you kind of don't think of it as like associated with the Cloverfield universe, because initially when I saw that and I had read that, I immediately was dismissive and was like, no, I don't want to see that film because I hated Cloverfield so much.
Yeah.
More of my friends kept telling me, no, you really need to see this. It's really good.
Yeah, 10 Cloverfield Lane is a fantastic character study sort of movie. It's really good.
And I really like the fact that film keeps you guessing all the way up to the end of it.
Yes, it's great. It literally is, the only way it's connected to Cloverfield is that they tack something onto the end. That's it. Right. That's all it is. Loose, I haven't seen, but I did look up the plot summary of, and it is very much a story about sort of, racial relations in America and how this adopted kid writes a paper about how physical force could overcome, tyrannical government or something like that, and likening that to what's happening in America.
Well,
and stuff.
it's all about this whole thing with harassing one of his teachers, who's Octavia Spencer.
Yeah.
And I like, and even for a while there, Octavia Spencer, what were you thinking? That and Ma? Another horrible film.
Sometimes our agents lose their minds.
Well, no, I understand you got to pay the rent.
Yeah, that's true. Look, Loose is not the type of movie, because I read how it ends, and spoilers for Loose, I guess. But it's like he gets up and he goes, "No, I didn't mean any of that." And he, but then it's like ends with him walking away and his smile twists into this angry, face and stuff.
Yeah, and
so it's all about that kind
Jessica and I watched that together, but neither of us liked it.
Well, that's the director of this new Captain America movie, and he said, really, this movie is Sam's coming out show. It's about him going through the paces. Part of the challenge for Sam as Captain America, working within the government, is the way he's going to make decisions. The point of view he's going to have will at times put him at odds with the president. So
the whole thing, will this film put Marvel back in their good graces too? Because Marvel's really missing the ball lately, as far as I'm concerned.
I think this is going to be an over-the-top, preachy movie, and I don't care for that, because that's what the Captain America and the Winter Soldier, or Falcon and the Winter Soldier series ended up being.
You see, but and I never watched that.
It does have an interesting. So there's a character they introduce in that who is he was basically Captain America while Captain America was taking an ice bath, but he was black, and he does all the same things that Captain America did. He tells this whole story about how he snuck out, went across enemy lines, and brought those boys back and all that stuff, but he got put in jail for it, whereas Steve Rogers got praised for it. And it's very much it's because racism story.
But then Green Lantern was an African American too, and they haven't gone that route yet.
Well, Green Lantern's DC, so that's. But I feel like because of the past credentials of the director and the way that it was set up,
that's why you think it's going to go that route.
Yeah, literally the last episode of Falcon and the Winter Soldier was this guy, was him Sam yelling at people that they need to do better and racism is bad, which I agree with, but also it's like, I don't know. It's a weird dichotomy to try and make that what the whole thing is about. And
so Disney's going to go back on this woke route, and then it potentially is going to not be that good.
That's what this looks like to me. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I hope.
Meanwhile,
I'm wrong.
I was optimistic until you just said this.
I hope I'm wrong. And let me make something very clear. Here. I have absolutely no issue with talking about racial issues in film. And I think that
I think it's just all how it's handled. It's
going to be badly handled and ham-fisted. There's no way it's not.
Yeah, but
in a Marvel movie, no.
I think people need to go back and watch. The best film I think that handled racial problems was Do the Right Thing by Spike Lee, and I still think that's the standard that I hold a lot of those films to.
Yeah.
And Malcolm X, even to that extent. Like, I really do like those films, even though Spike Lee has kind of gone off the rails.
He does some interesting commercials.
Wait, you're still going back to the Michael Jordan ones that he made?
No. He's did something for Apple a couple years ago, and he's done some perfume commercials that are really off the wall and weird, and he's done some really cool stuff visually.
But I know already, even without any asking, you've probably never seen Do the Right Thing.
No, I have not.
And it all centers. It's generally one day in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, New York, and the racial tensions. And it's not just white and black; it's white, black, Asian, all the way down the line. And how all these different cultures have to coexist within this neighborhood, but they all hate each other. Mm-hmm. And there's a moment where they all have a soliloquy about how they hate the other race. And Samuel L. Jackson's character is a radio DJ right in the middle of this neighborhood, and going, hey, this has to stop.
Yeah.
And that message in that film, that really should come back into how a lot of these films are handled, in my opinion.
Yeah. But I guess what I was trying to say was that Marvel's writers, that the people that are usually writing on these films, do not have the ability or the go ahead to be nuanced in it. It is
Okay.
bang you over the head with it kind of stuff, which is really annoying.
So it's almost kind of an entitlement point of view on these things.
Or it's virtue signaling. It's this idea of, hey, we're going to tell you that this is exactly what we think, and you're going to deal with it. And then if someone goes, well, I don't like the way you handled that, they're like, you racist. and we're like, no, I just think you did it badly.
Right.
But okay. So
I still kind of hold out a little bit of hope for that. Just like I said, for what I saw in Vegas from that film, it does look pretty decent. Okay. So I could be wrong. It could turn out just like you said, but I still
hope I'm wrong.
I still hold a little bit of hope for that it doesn't.
Well, it's coming.
Okay. Yeah. Next Valentine's Day. Once again, weird.
Okay. Just real quick. Nobody 2 has been confirmed. Bob Odenkirk is returning.
Awesome. I can't wait. And I love that first movie.
I do too. Yeah.
It's really good. Ultra violent and good. And where's the kitty cat ring? That one scene, but
yeah.
Yeah, and I like Bob Odenkirk too. I always have since Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad. But he's been around a long time before those things came to light and were popular the way they are. But Nobody's just a really cool movie.
It's fun and it doesn't waste any time.
No,
I appreciate that about it.
And Connie Nielsen's in that too, and I do like her.
Yep. Also, Andy Serkis says that Peter Jackson is still working on The Adventures of Tintin 2. So
really,
yeah,
that's
originally
Spielberg did that.
So yeah, Spielberg did the first one. Peter Jackson was producer on it, and he's still working he's working as a producer to get it done.
I like that movie too.
Originally, they were trying to get the sequel because 2011 was Adventures of Tintin. Yeah, it's crazy that was that long ago. That movie looks incredible. But 2015 was their goal for the sequel, and then some stuff happened that just kind of
Tintin didn't take off the way it wanted to either. I know financially, it wasn't a big box office success,
which sad
makes
because
it hard. It is really good.
It is one of the best adventure movies I've ever seen.
Yeah,
it's so fun.
And it's hard to believe you're watching a cartoon sometimes too.
Yeah,
that's how good it looks.
It's and the physicality of it and stuff as well. Like all the motion cap they did on it, where they had people give these physical performances that add a little bit of that kind of fantasy world into it, where it's like, oh, these are cartoon characters, they can do a little stuff, but it's still grounded enough that you're kind of on the edge of your seat going, oh, is he gonna survive zipping down the zip line with the motorcycle handlebars? I don't know. And so I like that movie. I hope they do actually come out with a sequel.
Me too.
And I also think that Andy Serkis, his performance in that's great.
Yeah,
as per usual, he's good.
Yes.
So there's that. And then last thing, I think you'll be excited about this. There is a documentary coming from National Geographic and Amblin called Jaws at 50.
Oh,
so 50th anniversary.
Okay.
It's going to include footage and photography from the Benchley and Spielberg archives, and we'll also look at how the blockbuster gave rise to a new generation of shark obsessives. It's going to be made in collaboration with
me included.
The doc is going to be made in collaboration with ocean conservation and marine policy advocate Wendy Benchley, who's the wife of Peter Benchley, who wrote the novel.
Yeah, and that's kind of where Jaws came about, like. And not to mention, too, if anybody knows anything about how Jaws was made, it's amazing that film turns out, which, by the way, we're showing July 5th drive-in here at Grand Avenue Theater.
Yes.
So, and Maria and I kind of had some arguments about that because I think what it was is, we want to do Top Gun again. I'm like, no, Jaws. Yeah. I'm like, it's the ultimate summer film.
Jaws.
And she's like,
Jaws.
No, it's too old and it's too dated. I'm like, how can you say that?
Look, Maria's great, and I love Maria, but I got to disagree with her on this. Jaws is never going to be outdated.
No.
It's the template.
At least not in my eyes.
Jaws is great.
Jaws 2, maybe, but the first one...
Look, I mean, honestly, we should just be watching Jaws: The Revenge, but... no.
But I should go back and watch that one of these just to laugh at it.
We should do a Mystery Science Theater 3000 style movie commentary just on movies that we know are bad.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I've never seen the third one.
Oh, yeah. Have you not really?
No.
Interesting.
I've never. I
saw it as a kid.
That's probably even worse than Jaws: The Revenge, to be honest.
Jaws 3D. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the one with Michael Caine, isn't it?
No, Jaws: The Revenge is
that's
the one
with
Michael Caine.
Yeah.
Right.
The one where they basically took one of those little pool diving toys and just kind of went through the water.
Yeah, that's it. because I said that the one podcast. Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, sometime I should go back and watch that.
I've not seen the movie, but I have seen the house that it built, and it's incredible.
But yeah, because the whole thing, the shark didn't work most of the time. Mm-hmm. So they had to keep going. The dailies that Spielberg was sending to Paramount, they almost shut down the film at least twice from what I remember the story of that. And there's a big difference between that film and the book. Because a lot of it is Quint's obsession with hunting down the shark and killing it. Mm-hmm. And, the barrels aren't in the book. The barrels, they had to kept the film going because the shark didn't work most of the time. So they had to make it like the shark was present when it really wasn't. It's just these 3 barrels floating in the water. And yeah, knowing all the problems and everything that film encountered, and it defined the summer blockbuster.
Yeah.
And how that film still has a life to this day. And yes, you telling me that they're making a documentary 50 years later. Yeah, I'm already excited. I don't need to see a trailer or anything. Right. I will watch it sight unseen.
I just want to pre-order it, have it show up at my house, pop it in the Blu-ray player. That's right. I still use physical media like an old man and watch it in glorious 4K.
Yeah, and I know Peter Benchley's wife is a big ocean conservative, and the whole thing with Jaws because of that. I think is really cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, one thing we should say in the news before Martin Mull passing away.
Yes. Very sad. He was Colonel Mustard in Clue and also in a bunch of other stuff. But
Ron from Mr. Mom.
Ron from Mr. Mom.
Yeah.
He an incredibly talented performer. Sad to hear that he's passed away. But
did they say I didn't read what I think the only thing I saw was it was a long battle with an illness. They didn't say what.
Yeah, I didn't see what it was specifically, but
yeah, that's kind of all these people that have grown up watching it are all kind of passing away. It's really sad.
I was really trying to end us on a happy note with the Jaws of 50.
Sorry. That's my fault.
The dailies I'm getting back are now making me think I should shut down the podcast. I'm telling you.
Fine, get another host for this thing.
No, I've already gone through like 8 on my other one, so you're locked in. You can't leave.
Okay, I can't leave. Okay, that's good to know. I have job security.
Absolutely. This job that pays neither of us. I'm like $1,000 in the hole just in equipment, and we have no sponsor yet. That's fine. Well, I guess the sponsors,
our staff loves us. So.
Hey, that's all that matters. Our sponsor is us, and boy, we're behind us 100%.
Yep. We keep trudging along every week.
Oh, my goodness. All right. Well, I guess that brings us to the end of another episode.
Yes.
So it does. Hey, if you want to join in on the conversation, we post the links to all of these on our Facebook and Instagram. So that's at Grand Review Pod. And tell us in the comments on one of the episodes what you thought about the movie. We'd love to hear what everyone's thinking about it. And then if we get enough people kind of commenting on that, I'd love to kind of read out other people's reviews. Next week we are doing which movie again? It was
we were just talking about this before we started filming.
What's coming out?
Well, we were talking about doing Horizon. Both of us really want to see. I really want to see that, and people coming out of the theater said it's really good.
That's what I've heard. I've heard it's like really good, but has just crawled its way to like 800,000 for the weekend or something like that.
Yeah, it's not doing
well. Great.
Which is kind of, it's really sad that the American Western has kind of gone the way of the dodo.
You know what's funny though? I'm seeing more Western stuff starting to get like greenlit. So I'm thinking it's coming back around a little bit, just a little bit.
Yeah, but Yellowstone, I don't think really should be considered as a Western.
Not Yellowstone. There was some other stuff that I saw. I saw some people were cast in a big Western thing coming up, and I wish I could remember the name of it. But
you need to watch Silverado.
That's right.
Lawrence Kasdan. Yeah,
we need to watch that.
And then we're talking about doing Despicable Me 4.
Yeah.
It was just a question of we were going to watch them and when we were going to record them.
Because you're heading out of town. You're getting out of Dodge.
I think when we come back, we should hit Possum Trot.
Yeah.
Just because it's another one I'm not financially like hopeful about.
But it could be good.
And it's not that Angel Studio makes bad films. They don't. They make very good films. It's just, I think they got lucky with Sound of Freedom. Mm-hmm. And that's why they changed the name of Possum Trot to Sound of Hope.
Yeah.
Hoping to cash in on that again.
And I mean, if that gets more eyes on the movie, I'm all for it.
Right. No, I'm not opposed to that at all. It's just they've done these really good films, but they're just not picking up in the mainstream public the way they should be.
It's a tough business. It's a real tough business.
So we'll work that out all off air, and then we'll I guess we'll record at least one or two of these before I go on vacation.
Yeah, we're gonna try and get a couple stored in the bank. So
and then we're gonna shoot the commercial here when we're done with this.
That's right. We got a commercial coming up on the theater. So if you want to come see our voices coming through big speakers, I don't know why you'd want to, but boy, you can.
Yeah, well, since people don't know what I look like, which is a good thing, you see me in the theater, say hi. I'm always receptive to shaking hands and saying hi.
Yeah.
Whether you like the podcast or don't like the podcast, that's cool.
Andy spent time in New York, but he's not actually that intimidating.
No, but I wore that like a badge. I swear, you
survived.
Working at a theater in New York City for 4 years. Yeah, that's. Whew.
Yeah.
It's a feat in itself.
All righty. Well, thanks for listening. Jump on any of the social media stuff at Grand Review Pod. If you've seen Horizons, or if you're seeing it this weekend, let us know what you think.
Yeah.
I'd love to know what some of our listeners are thinking about these stuff. Let us know what you thought about Quiet Place as well, and we'd love to share kind of what people are saying, so that it's not just us yapping. We can yap for other people. Yep. I'd love to be a vicarious yapper, if you will.
You already are.
Someone that people can yap vicariously through, instead of me trying to yap over everyone else.
Oh, okay.
So, all righty. Well, we're going to call it a day there and actually end the show this time.
Yes.
And we will see you at the movies.
Yep. Take care, y'all.
Bye.